Professor Ebenezer Ayensu, he is a historian and Dean of Students of the Heritage Christian University College, Amasaman. Sir, if you can hear me, good morning to you.
Morning, can you hear me?
Please, I can hear you loud and clear. Thank you for joining us on the Max Morning Show.
Hello?
For joining us, sir, on the Max Morning Show this morning.
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Right, so you're welcome to the show once again, sir.
Thank you.
Awesome.
And
We
good
now
morning
have
to your
you there.
listeners.
All right, so, sir, if you can hear me, my first question. The Supreme Court's ruling, what is going to be the first social impact, sir? How is it going to affect many people socially?
In the first place, the ruling, which is based on earlier law, which had been passed and was being questioned, is something that generally reflects our cultural belief systems. And for that matter, even though the public is yet to know the ramifications, at the end of the day, when its impact is well felt, that is when one could align it with our belief systems.
Connecting properly with Professor Ebenezer Ayensu. We're trying to reconnect with him, and when we do that, we will put our questions to him. This morning, we want to know the social impact of this, and I wanted to ask, he's not a lawyer, but will that, okay, sir, good morning to you once again. If you can hear me now, if you can go back to finish your earlier submission.
Yes, so I was saying that invariably, when the public is fully becomes aware of it, it is then that the social implications that we are actually manifest.
So I was wondering what the social impact of this ruling will be on Ghanaians, especially those who believe that their rights are being infringed on by this particular ruling.
Okay, in terms of our social setup, these sex toys and all other kinds of sexual activity are not recognized generally. But yes, when people are within their bedrooms, only God knows what goes on there. But the law as established by which the Supreme Court gave its ruling, I'm not a lawyer, but I know that that law was made based on our social cultural belief systems. So in that regard, the ruling re-emphasizes our belief in a certain setting for sexual activities.
Of globalization and modernity, wouldn't you say this law is a bit backward?
If we look at what is, you mentioned globalization, in the Western world, this is what they do. For them, sex is not for procreation only, but it's part of entertainment, leisure. I want to have fun. But in our cultural setting, I don't think sex is for cultural, for fun. It's for procreation. And all other benefits derived from it, though not intended, are cherished. But what is important is the social belief system. This is what we believe, that when you go into sexual engagement, at the end of the day, it should produce human beings. So if you are going to use toys and others, which has the tendency for you to ignore that social contract. You being able to give children so that the society keeps growing. You are not replenishing the society, but just for your, sorry to use this word, your selfish interest. That is what our culture does not accept. It frowns upon it. And basically, that is what the Supreme Court ruling for me implies, that let's keep to what our social belief system teaches us.
Until when are we going to do this? Because psychologists worldwide, including Ghana, have said that the fun, like you put it, part of sexual intercourse is very vital for healthy living. So if we in Ghana look at sexual intercourse just in the part of procreation, then indeed we're backward in our thinking, because psychologists, you are in academia, I bet you've heard them say that the fun part is probably the most important part and the procreation is a byproduct. So until when are we going to hold on to this?
I don't think our forebears did not know psychology. In their time, they also had that feeling. But most important for them is that. Don't forget that for us here, we don't have that institutionalized social backup, whereby when you go on retirement, when you are sick or whatever, institutions have been established to help you. For us, it is the family. So if you refuse to give birth, to adapt to, when you go into that situation, who is to take care of you? And until such time that we have the institutions that they have in the Western world, and for which they have fashioned out their social life, that sex is not even for procreation, but sex is for entertainment, it's for fun. And therefore, we do it anyhow, fine. But we are not yet there. So globalization, yes, but we shouldn't rush so much. After all, the Chinese and whatever, don't they hold on to their culture? Are they not part of the globalized world? And have they not advanced much more than even some of the Western countries that prescribe that kind of activities? They are so close to their culture. They don't move so fast that all others are doing. And so let us also do that.
Refer to China, and I respect that, but most sex toys, about 80% in my research, about 80% of sex toys are produced from China. And I don't think there's any law in China that prohibits the use of sex toys, but they promote their cultural practices and traditions. And so, referring to China, I don't know, sir, but you talk about norms and culture and all of that. You can see that there's a decadence in that area. In your estimation, how do we promote our cultural norms, our cultural and tradition, rather than going against something that is fast, becoming the norm in Ghana? How do we protect who we are?
Yes, okay. In the first place, going back to the China case, China's ideology and philosophy is put your brains and whatever to the text. Establish things that will give you money. So even if I produce for you and you will use it to the disadvantage of your society, fine. All that I'm interested in is I'm getting my money. So that's their philosophy. And that's why they are producing everything, bad and good. And we chase that globalization, this and that. So and it's good for us to look at them, that they produce it. To what extent do they use it? Moreover, we also know that China faces a population challenge. So for them, until maybe 10, 50 years time, their population is not a bother to them. But even then, they hold on to their culture to such an extent that this farm fair, so to speak, is not encouraged by their laws and their public practices. The Supreme Court ruling, as I take it is only when my partner, either myself or my partner, goes out to tell the public that this is what we've been doing, that you can get the person to arrest and prosecute, because they are not going to put cameras there. But the ruling and the law upon which my good friend went to the Supreme Court for interpretation is there to always be at the back of our minds that if you do this, this is going to happen to you. Moreover, we have a problem with foreign exchange, and these toys are imported from China. So that once this ruling has come up, it means Ministry of Trade and all the other agencies are not going to allow people to import this thing here to use as scarce foreign exchange to import this, which at the end of the day is going to affect our population, is going to affect our social belief system. So the ramifications don't only apply to our economic, apply to our social belief system, but the economic implications. These toys are expensive and they are not made in Ghana, they are imported. So when they are imported, you want to import these, you are going to use dollars. How do we feel these days about our exchange rate and whatever? So in a way, it's going to cut down some of the things that we don't need socially as our social practices.
My second, it was a two-in-one question. We've seen moral decadence. We've seen blatant disregard for our culture and our traditional practices. In your estimation, how do we go back to it? How do we bring who we used to be, although it can't be 100%, to the fore, going back to respect our cultural practices?
I believe if we hold on to our sense of sincerity, one, our chiefs, our political figures, our intellectuals, and whatever, if we agree that yes, we have a cultural life to lead and we keep it, we will be able to correct this. Let me give you an example. From the biggest professor on earth in Ghana here to the cleaner, the janitorial staff and whatever, everybody is speaking English with his or her children at home, living it, forgetting about their language. But they'll come to the public space, the intellectuals, the politicians, the chiefs, and talk about our cultural practices which are dying off. Just pass behind them and go to their homes. They are using, speaking of somebody's language. That's the beginning of it. So if we are going to be sincere to ourselves, we agree on what we know. I'm not saying every aspect of our culture is good. No, some are uploaded. So we all agree that these things, we need to do away with them. The others that are good, we hold on to them. And we don't just say it in public and go back. I teach a course, Gender and Sexuality in African History, a PhD course. And for 3 years, I've interacted with my students, and they tell me, they point to some of those people who call themselves gender activists and whatever, and tell you that if you go to their homes, that's not how they behave. Is it not hypocrisy? So these are some of the things that when I talk about sincerity. We do it as we do. We say it in public and do the same thing in privacy.
Many thanks to you, Professor Ebenezer Ayensu, for joining us on the Max TV morning show this morning.
Thank you too, and greetings to everybody.
Sir. All right, so we've been having a conversation with Professor Ebenezer Ayensu, Dean of Students, Heritage University in Amasaman.